The most powerful force on earth is a human soul on fire. You have a deep ache in your soul for something more, to come alive, to let your passion pour from you like an endless well. When your passion comes alive, the magnificence buried deep inside of you is unleashed. Gifts and talents you never realized surface as your life unfolds like poetry. You can do hard things. I can show you how. This is Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, where I teach you how to heal yourself from the inside out.
So thank you so much for doing the live coaching with me. I wanted to start by asking you, of the three things that you submitted as far as like what you would want to change in your life or the struggles that you're dealing with right now. You mentioned apathy, that you don't seem to care much about the things that you used to do. Your health, that you've been diagnosed with a couple of illnesses and they're a hindrance to you. And then fading beauty, aging. I don't like the way that I look now, and I used to like the way I look. So of those three things, which thing is, as I read it, did you have the most emotional charge within you?
The apathy, the first one. The
apathy. Okay. So why is that bothering you now? Like today, it's bright and alive in you.
Because I see things undone in my life, and there's no reason why it should be left undone. And there's a lot more that I know I could accomplish, but I just don't feel inspired to even begin the tasks.
By the way, when I coach you, sometimes, I'm listening to your story, but what's unique about what I do is that I trace subconscious belief patterns. And so when I can tell that we might be touching upon one, or there might be like an entry point into really getting to one, sometimes I'll cut you off mid-sentence. I don't do this to be rude. I do this because it's like a hound dog has gotten the scent. And so I follow the scent. So there's something that you said, and you, what is your reason? Like if you were to, like you said, there's no reason, but your brain has made up a reason as far as why those things aren't done. What might that be? Like, what would you, if you were to guess?
Oh gosh, I'm not sure. It seems overwhelming to me. And I have a certain amount of fatigue most every day that I've got to overcome. But if I can get interested in something and get started on it, then the feeling of accomplishment takes over and motivates me. But if I don't start, or I just say, oh, it's a day to lay in bed, or, I'm just going to take it moment by moment. Sometimes when I take it moment by moment, I get more done than I thought I was going to. But and then other days, I don't. Mm-hmm. But that's always the thing that I do to kind of trick myself into thinking, there's no pressure, you don't have to. But right now, do this, little baby steps, and then the day unfolds. And
on the days where you can't conjure up the ability to do baby steps, what's your reason for not getting things done?
Just the feeling of being overwhelmed and tired, fatigued.
Okay. Well, of those things, the overwhelm, the fatigue, which is what stops you in your tracks first?
Fatigue.
Fatigue. Okay. So what causes your fatigue?
Probably the rheumatoid arthritis. And they said I had my fibromyalgia too. And I probably have a bit of depression, just thought patterns that aren't positive continuing through my head. And that makes you tired. Makes me tired.
Yeah, certainly. And it would feed into the overwhelm. So what are those thought patterns?
Say that again, please.
I said, what are those thought patterns?
I would think things like, well, thoughts of regret, things I should have done better or differently in my past, and thought patterns of, again, just it's too overwhelming for me to try it today, you know.
So let's talk about the regret. So what is something that you kind of cycle back and forth in your head as far as like a big regret in your life?
The time I wasted when my children were little, and I could have managed time a little more so I could spend time with them, more time with them. I mean,
why didn't you?
But why didn't I? Because, well, I had to work 2 jobs because there were several years there where my ex-husband, I don't know where he was, so I wasn't getting any child support. So in order to feed him and pay the rent and buy him clothes, I had to work 2 jobs. And so when I was home, I was always like tired and sleeping and but you know, looking back, I think there could have been, if I was smarter, there could have been some way I could manage time so that I wasn't they weren't a lower priority, that they were up here, you know, a higher priority in my time table of the day. And I don't know what that would be, but, you know, they have all this time management these days. And I'm, you know, my father was kind of a workaholic. And so I kind of took a clue from him. You know, you have to pay your bills and, you know, drive a nice car and, you know, make sure everything is, you know, at least blue collar. You know,
so his priorities were different. He was like different time, but you inherited that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it true that like you could have done a better job?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So how does that make you, how does that feel when you say that? Like it's true that I could have done a better job?
It's terrible. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of regret and
where do you feel regret in your body? Like what does regret feel like for you?
It's like a pain in your heart. You know, starts here. Mm-hmm. Like a heavy.
Okay.
Then a long throat.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why are you choosing that thought then if it doesn't feel good and it creates that feeling in your heart?
I think, well, how can I say this? It's because of something I inherited from my mother. And she was always, she was guilt-driven. You know, she would guilt us into being good girls and guilt us into treating her right and giving her all the attention that she needed. And I can't think of anything she didn't motivate people with guilt, you know. And so I think I placed guilt on myself.
Is that something you want to continue doing, though? It's something that, you know, it's like you inherited.
No, I would really like to be rid of it.
Then why do you keep doing it?
Habit, I guess.
So when we start asking these questions, you know, we think, well, why would I keep doing that? It doesn't make me feel good. But if we ask these questions, there's always a reason why. And I don't usually buy the answer of like, well, I inherited it. Like, yeah, okay, that's why you have it, but like you've chosen to continue it, right? And then familiarity is like, okay, I get that too, but there's a deeper reason. So if you were to guess why you would keep this pattern up in your life, like what is something that you get out of it? Even if it's like a weird, twisted backwards something that you get out of continuing this pattern in your life.
Maybe I think if I punish myself enough, then I'll eventually be rid of it.
Okay. I think we're getting warmer.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Because I feel like I deserve punishment. And
Why do you deserve punishment?
Huh?
Why do you deserve punishment?
Because I'm guilty.
You're guilty, right? Because your mom taught you that, right? She used guilt, and so she said, "Yes, you are guilty," and you're like, "Yes, I am, and I'm going to do the thing that you want me to because, you know, it feels like there's a manipulation here." So usually guilt is like mom played the victim a lot. Okay,
Yeah.
Where does that show up in your life? Where do you play the victim?
I think I do it with my husband a lot, and I shouldn't. You know, I think instead of helping myself, I expect him to help me.
Yeah.
To, you know, do things for me and make sure everything's running smoothly in the household. And I think I do that. And
because you get something out of that, right? Like a lot of times we play victim because we get sympathy. You know, a person will help us in a way that we're afraid they wouldn't help us otherwise. So there is supposed benefits to being the victim. But what are the drawbacks of being the victim?
In saying that, it seems like it's like a vicious cycle, because if I feel like a victim, then I feel like a loser, you know? And I really, when I excel, it's when I'm on my own and I have nothing left and I've got to perform. I've got to get a job done. And nobody's going to do it. And I surprise myself. But if I know there's, you know, somebody that's going to do it for me, then I'll act like it's their job. And I'm, you know, if they don't do it, then they're, you know, hurting me or not treating me. And so I feel a victim. And it's kind of a
vicious cycle.
What?
Vicious cycle?
Yeah, vicious cycle.
Yeah. So have you heard of the drama triangle?
No.
All right. This is something that it's good for everybody to know, but it's like when we're in this spaces of conflict, this is the pattern that always has to fulfill itself. And this happens with everyone. So the drama triangle is victim, like I am helpless. Right? Like I can't be helped like other people. I'm not in my power. Everybody else has to help me, do things for me. Right? So that's the victim mentality. And then the next spot in the triangle is the persecutor. So the persecutor is kind of like attack. I know better than you do. Like I don't trust in you. Like, or, you know, you're doing something wrong. I'm right type of mentality. Okay. And then there is the savior. The savior is like, oh, let me rescue you because you can't do it yourself. And, you know, I know better than you do. And with the savior, it's, you know, the person who's rescuing gets more out of it than the rescuee. So, a way to get out of the drama triangle is the antidote, which is the empowerment dynamic. So rather than victim, we become creator. Like I'm stepping into my power, and in this moment, I can create my reality. I can create my life. Like, so for example, like victim mentality might be something like, well, like my mom did this and that's why I am the way I am, right? Because what does that do? That gives away all the power. Okay. Mm-hmm. So creator is, okay, well, I've been handed this and it might be a challenging hand, but what can I do? Like, what resources can I pull to create a new reality from this, because I am in my power, right? So that's creator. Challenger goes from attacking like person, like, so for example, what happens a lot of times with victim, if we want, someone to carry something out for us, do something for us, if they don't, then we turn into persecutor, which is like, I want you to do what I want, like, and you're not doing what I want. So like, how dare you? Like, just sort of like the inner dialogue, whether we say it or not. Okay. So persecutor goes from attacking the person to challenging the situation. It's like, okay, well, I would like you to do this. I've requested it. But like, let's talk about our feelings about this. Let's talk about the situation, right? Rather than trying to manipulate or persecute. Okay. And then the last part of the triangle, the antidote, it goes from savior to coach. So coach, like myself and coaching you today, is someone that trusts that you have all the answers inside of you. And I'm going to kind of like walk beside you as we figure out the answers. And you're doing a great job. Like you're self-aware in a lot of ways, but a lot of times people need a coach to get through these things, right? So how can we take this space that you're in of like the victim mentality, right? And like, just with what you've talked about with me as far as like illnesses and just things that you have to deal with in your life, what you've been through, a lot of people might take the victim stance because, there's like a heavy load here, right? So I want to say that with compassion. But how can we create resourcefulness in this moment and have you take control of what you can? Like, what are the things you can take control of? Like just this morning, today, after this call.
Let's see. I could do the laundry. I could clean the kitchen.
So what would come before the action? Because like, it seems like there's thought patterns in there that get really heavy for you and then make you feel regret. And that weighs you down.
I'm not sure I understand.
So what thoughts can you challenge, right? What thoughts can you challenge in your mind that make you feel regret and guilt?
That it's mundane tasks and I don't want to do it. I'd rather do something fun.
Okay.
That's really adolescent, but true.
Okay. So that particular thought, like when you challenge that thought of, that creates the feeling of mundane, like this is silly, I'd rather be doing something else, then you have resistance that happens inside of you, right?
Yeah.
Where do you feel that resistance?
Where do you mean physically?
Yeah, physically. In your, like, within the framework of your body.
Probably like here, tension in my neck and shoulders.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let's take a few moments to kind of like breathe and drop into that particular area.
Okay.
Yeah. You can close your eyes if you like, or you can keep them open and just, whatever helps you to focus on feeling sensation in your body. So,
okay.
So take some deep breaths in and out through your nose. So resistance happens when we don't want to accept what is in the moment, a lot of times like our internal experience. And we fight it. Like, I don't want to feel that. So the actual feeling is not as bad as the resistance. The resistance traps it within us. Just like how when you accept your situation and then you work with it, like, let me do things bit by bit, how all of a sudden things get easier. It's because you've released the resistance. Okay.
Makes sense.
Okay. So in that area, like when you kind of soften the resistance there, is there an emotion that you're experiencing within your body currently?
I do feel a peace entering in. Yeah, I feel peace. Not overwhelming peace, but, I could feel it, starting to move in, I guess.
Okay. So you mentioned earlier about how, like, you perform well when, like, you're kind of pushed against the wall, right? Like you pull things out of yourself that you didn't realize was there, right? But I imagine, like, the stress and everything that builds up to that is like, God, like, it might be like, I wish there were a different way to do this to, like, pull that out. Like, couldn't we just, like, fast forward ahead to, like, feeling nice and then getting that sort of result?
You're frozen. Oh no, you're just waiting.
I'm frozen. So, like, if there were an easier way to, like, get to the result that you would want, would you take that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's kind of a loaded question. So, the result that you have at the end is, like, getting hard things done, maybe something like that. Okay. How would you have to feel, or how do you feel that makes you get those things done? Is it like you make it non-negotiable, or like this has to get done, or what is the emotion that drives you to action in those times?
The emotion is, well, it's kind of exciting in a weird way. A challenge is kind of exciting for me, and I've always been motivated to prove something. If I have to prove something to somebody that I can do it, then that's kind of exciting to me, and it's an exciting challenge. And but at the same time, it is, underneath that is a scared little girl, just what's going to happen kind of feeling. So I just kind of put myself in another place and go on determined, that it's this or nothing, all or nothing.
So is it sort of like a disassociation?
Yeah.
Okay. So, and the way that I use that is, like, you put yourself in a different place. So I don't mean disassociation in a disembodied way. I think what happens is you actually snap into being present, and it's just like make it non-negotiable.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. Because to take action, actually get it done in like a skillful way, we would have to be somewhat, like, embodied.
Yeah.
So this, like, scared little girl, like, after reading your intake as far as what you've been through and, like, the arguments that would erupt in your family, and how, like, you didn't feel love from your father and your siblings, kind of loathed you, but you did have the love of your mother. So that scared little child, like, there is excitement that happens in that, like, you're trying to prove something, but, like, what is she doing in there? Like, how can we support her?
You mean support me, her?
Yeah.
Yeah. I guess I could find a way to encourage myself, be my own best friend.
Yeah. So right now, the motivating words that you use might be something like, I think it's kind of like, a cue that you picked up from your mom, which was to guilt yourself maybe into it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would feel more pleasant? Like, what would she respond to besides guilt?
Humor. Although she was quite a sarcastic person, sarcastic humor.
How old is she when we're talking about her now?
Well, she passed away, but she was 75 when she passed away.
Oh, okay, mother. I'm talking about your inner child.
Oh, my inner child. Oh. 7.
7? Okay. And can you describe her personality to me, 7-year-old you?
She's very much a people pleaser, and goes along with, adapts whatever mood or circumstances is around her and what's happening. She doesn't make the atmosphere makes her. And so she's really easy for other people to get along with.
Mm.
But she always has some kind of conflict inside.
That must be exhausting.
Yeah.
And that's something that you carry with you now. But I think it's exhausted you so much that, it's impossible to please everybody now. And now you kind of have to face that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. So, she's in conflict. She's in pain. Can you picture, her body language? Where is she? If you were to just, picture her, just, what does your brain give to you as far as, is she outside playing? Is she in her room? Where is she?
Outside playing by herself.
Yeah.
And her dogs and cats and animals.
She likes to connect with nature. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm.
With no people.
No people. So I wonder if she would respond well to you if you went over to her and were curious about her and said, hey, little girl, what's your name? Would she respond to you, or would she just keep playing?
She would respond.
Yeah. Okay. So what would you say to her if she was in front of you and you're walking kind of outside and you see this cute little girl, 7 years old, maybe there's a cat nearby or some sort of animal and she's playing with them and playing pretend?
I would probably, let's see, maybe, oh, that's a tough one. Would, well, I think I would start out introducing myself. Yeah. Because I would want her to feel comfortable, and not just talk. I wouldn't talk to a stranger right away. So I'd introduce myself and then ask her what her name is. And I would tell her she had a pretty name. And would she like to play a pretend game?
And would she accept your invitation?
Cautiously.
Cautiously?
Yeah. Yeah. But she'd always be looking over her shoulder, until she felt safe.
Yeah. Smart girl. So what pretend game would you play with her?
Pioneer Days. we would always play pioneer days. We'd have little ponds throughout the farm, and some of them had rocks around it. And we would take, I say we, me and the dog and the cats. and we would take like old shirts and stuff and pretend we were washing them on the rocks. And I take strange things and make it like some kind of food, pretend food or something, like I was cooking something. And I would put clothes on the dog. And try to makeshift like a prairie girl outfit for myself and a little hat or something. Just all out pretend. Make up a big scene and then I would participate with her. Step into the role of if she wanted me to be her prairie sister or mom or whatever.
Okay. So, if we were to like play act that now, would you be the sister? Would you be the mom? Like, what role would she want you to play? And you can just listen to what she wants.
I probably would be the mom.
Mom. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So you guys are playing pretend, and so as mom, would you be cooking in the kitchen something for her?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay. What you cooking? Good looking.
Beans.
Beans.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. And so maybe if we imagine that you were cooking in the kitchen her favorite beans, and then it was time, for everybody to sit down and eat. And maybe we could start some conversation with her, and maybe you can start by asking her, how does she feel?
Okay. So I ask her, how she's feeling. You know what? I would probably ask her more. I would probably say, isn't it a beautiful day?
Oh,
first.
Yeah. By all means, start in the way that she will receive. You.
Yeah. And then I would probably point out some wildflowers or something that, were blooming in the fields or had a pretty color or something. And then maybe suggest that when we're done eating, we'll go pick some and make a bouquet. And I'd ask her, how do you feel about that? And she'd probably say, yeah, that's a really great idea. And then she would be, all while she was eating, would be looking around for flowers.
So you gave her a little mission to occupy her. Okay. So if we've gotten to that point and she's eaten and she's like looking around for the flowers now, maybe we can teach her something here. So she's 7 years old, so she has the capacity to be aware of her feelings. Let's ask her about needs. Like, maybe we can ask her, like, what do you need? What do you need right now? What do you need that you're not getting? I'm here to help fulfill your needs. What needs are you? What do you need?
It's hard to think what I would need as a 7-year-old because I don't think I had the capacity to understand needs or emotions that I needed at that point. Because when you're little, you're just kind of like, this is the way life is.
Mm-hmm.
You accept it, and you just like, you don't think that anybody's, that like poor people are like, it's just the way it is. I'm poor, We have rice every night for dinner, and then when you're wealthy, you same thing. So she wouldn't know what she needs.
Might I offer that I wonder if it's because you didn't get what you needed when you were 7, and so you're very unaware of what you needed when you were 7 because it wasn't even ever asked. And I think maybe as an adult, you carry that with you. And I'm not saying I'm saying beyond like basic needs, like, oh, I need water, I need food, I'm saying emotional needs, right? Like, oh, I need, like, and then if you ask her, like, oh, how do you feel? How do you feel? 7-year-olds do have the capacity to be able to describe, maybe not the most eloquently, like, but to start to become aware of their inner experience.
She would say she wants a best friend.
Okay. All right. So let's translate that. So a best friend would be something like a request. Okay. And the need would be, and because she lives inside of you and you have sort of like insider trader information, she wants a best friend because she desires maybe one of these things. Would it be connection, to be included, to be loved, to be understood? Which one of those pops out to you?
Oh.
Or is there another word that might pop out?
Well, she would want companionship, but she would want to feel included and accepted.
Okay.
Who she is.
Okay.
You know, and just be able to be herself.
So then that clues us into that need is not met. She has a need for acceptance. She has a need for inclusion. She has a need for, I would even say like companionship might be able to fit into that category.
Yeah.
Yeah, if we if we consider we're pack creatures, most of the time needs are something that we can fulfill ourselves. But companionship and like being social creatures, if we're to acknowledge that as a thing, then yes, that could be. So, how can you help her fulfill that need?
I could become her friend.
And what would that look like?
It would look like I would be a little easier on myself. More.
So what I want to do is drop in, and I want you to imagine being that 7-year-old you that does have the companionship, that does have the best friend, that does have the acceptance and love, and feel it in your body in real time. You can close your eyes if you like, and I want you to feel, so relax your tongue from the roof of your mouth, soften your jaw, and I want you to feel in real time. That 7-year-old. It's like the friend that she wished she had that was never there. All of a sudden, she was there. And she loved her. And she felt safe. And she felt like it was okay to be herself. And I want you to breathe in and out through your nose because this calms the nervous system. And keep relaxing all the muscles that you can around your throat and your jaw and your face. It's like, how would my life be different if I could go back in time and give her what she needs, that I need? Because the thing about being a best friend with someone is that it's a two-way street. And I think that she has something for you. She has a gift, just like you have a gift for her. Keep breathing and let me know when you can feel what it feels like to be supported in that way that you craved for so long. Keep breathing deep. Feel it in your body. When you keep breathing deep and stay connected to the sensation in your body, you are connected to your subconscious. And that is when we make a shift and a change. So you can recruit from within you the friend that you've always wanted, because I trust that you have the answers inside of you. And this person that you've been seeking to help you, this person to be your emotional confidant, she's just been waiting.
She gives me confidence.
Yeah.
And of course, happiness,
Hmm.
joy.
Hmm.
She helps me to be more creative
Hmm.
because she accepts my ideas. And I enjoy hearing hers.
And does she help you to invite in more compassion and patience into your life?
Yes. Yes. Yes, indeed.
And I wonder, can she help to motivate you? You know, in those moments where you don't want to, rather than go to that old guilty, shamey regret? Yeah.
Yeah, because she would know exactly what to say.
What would she say? Like in a moment to get you moving?
She would say, pardon me, but she would say, fuck them.
That 7-year-old, where she learned those words.
She would say, just fuck them all. And then she'd say, you know, you have so much talent and the world is waiting for you. Yeah, she would say that. And then she'd say, come on, what was the last thing that you were thinking about that, you know, you wanted to do or make up or create or pretend? What you've been thinking about? And she'd want to hear it.
So it sounds like you have a need, like your needs are pouring out now as you're talking, that you have a need to be heard and understood as an artist and a creative person. And I think that, you know, there's a lot in your life where you express that, right? And people get to see that, certainly. But I think the person you wanted to see the most is her.
Probably, yeah. Yeah, she needs to feel fulfilled.
Yeah, that is a need. So that is another need that she has, like the feeling of fulfillment, satisfaction.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's interesting that she has helped you open up a pathway of talking about what your needs are. And then she's, you know, telling you what her needs are. And it's this beautiful dialogue back and forth that even just with the dialogue, oh God, I'm heard. Like I'm heard. I could feel that. And like just the way that you look on the screen looks way different. Like there's like a glow, a light behind your eyes of like, oh, that's right. I touched something in me that I've been seeking.
Yeah. Yes.
So how can we commit to making contact with her? Because it seems like she has a lot to teach you. And I'm very interested in what you guys are going to learn from each other, because it seemed like she was just ready, like with a ripe fruit, waiting for you to just call upon her. So how can you stay in contact with her? Does she have an email address? Does she have a she have a Facebook?
I'm not sure. I would like to, definitely. The only way I know is through my inner dialogue.
Mm-hmm. So there is a non-dominant handwriting technique that sometimes people use to get in touch with their inner child.
What's that?
Yeah, it's something I talked about in my first book, but I actually haven't talked about it in a little while. But it's just kind of, every person I coach, different tools come out. So yeah, you can ask your inner child, like once you like breathe, drop in, and kind of like make contact. Like you pick a way to make contact with her initially is to picture a scene, like your go-to scene of maybe she's outside, and you're like cooking for her or something like that. Once you can drop into that scene and you're sort of like with her, then you can ask her questions and then receive the answer by taking a pen or writing tool in your non-dominant hand and see what she says. And a lot of times it feels kind of freaky because the handwriting's different. Obviously, it's your non-dominant hand, but also the responses, like if you let it come from within you, it will be her.
Why the non-dominant hand?
The non-dominant hand, because that you have more access to your subconscious regions of your brain rather than your dominant hand. It's already like programmed, like you'll go right away to, okay, this is connected to this part of my brain, right? So when you use your non-dominant hand, it's connected with the opposite hemisphere. So if it's like right or left, like, so if I'm using my right hand, it's connect with the left. If I'm using my left, it's connect with the right. So the idea is to use a different part of your brain, and the opposite side would be your access to your subconscious.
Very cool.
Right?
Huh.
Now that's one way. Other ways are to get yourself into that space and just, ask questions and stay within yourself. And sometimes organically it will come up. And you'll just like hear it in your head. So sometimes it helps to speak it out loud, right? Because the mind can be a tricky place and can kind of move like, we can get distracted. So writing things down, whether it be non-dominant or dominant hand, so the answers could come out in the handwriting, or the answer can come up organically and you can write it with your dominant hand, or sometimes I type it out just from years of body work. My thumbs or like my fingers or my handwriting isn't great, but she seems amazing, and she seems like she has like so much, and she's very willing to want to share it with you.
I think so too.
Yeah. So I would spend some time there as sort of like a first, call to action, I suppose. So the technique is healing inner child, making contact with her. And spending some time with her. And then I would also recommend, if I might give an offering, like calling upon her in times where like you're laying in bed and you don't want to get up, or just, the fatigue is setting in, like you just feel like the weight of the world, you feel overwhelmed, just let that stuff go. And what would she say? What would she say? It's like you have a direct line to your best friend. People wear like the "What would Jesus do" bracelets or whatever. So what would little you do?
Yeah.
What would little you say?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then if you can hook onto that, I think if you practice that, that will start to change the old pattern of how you've gotten things done before, which again, you've gotten things done. There's a good reason why you've chosen it over and over again. But we get to the point where you're like, you know what, this is exhausting. I don't want to have to go through this to get my tasks done. There has to be a better way. And I think we found at least one really good one that just sort of came up for you.
Yeah, definitely. Yay. We did.
Yay.
Thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
Thank you so much for listening. If you want to support the podcast and if it's helping you, please consider writing a review. You can go to iTunes or Google Play, go into the search bar and type in Thrive Yoga Fit Transformational Coaching, scroll down, and you can leave a review. This helps other people to find me as well as bumps us up in the search ratings. Also, this podcast is sponsor-free, so that means we don't receive anything for doing it. If you feel so inclined and this podcast is helping to support you and you want to return the favor and help to support any production costs of the podcast, feel free to give a donation to a Venmo link, Thrive Yoga Fit, or PayPal, Erin@erincoach.com. If you don't have the means, don't worry about it. We're not going anywhere. You're all good. But if you would like to give back, you can give back in those ways. Last thing, we have a coaching certification coming up, and it's 7 days of an intensive work, followed by a 3-month mentorship. You will not find another teacher that's more passionate and dedicated than I am to my students and their learning, and not just their learning, but the application and how they show up in their life. If you've been listening to this podcast and it's had a huge impact on your life, just imagine what it would be like to spend 7 intensive days with me and then a 3-month mentorship. You can check that out at thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Again, thriveyogafit.com/coach-certification. Thank you so much. Namaste.